good evening. Welcome to another edition of the Grassroots Speak. My name is James Carey and I'm your host. In 1981, President Ronald Reagan proclaimed the first Crime Victims' Rights Week in the month of April. This event is vastly becoming recognized and celebrated in cities around the country. When I return, I'll be speaking with two individuals who are hosting the event in the city of Elizabeth. I'm here with Ms. Maria Estevez, Union County's Prosecutor's Victim Witness Advocate, and Ms. Bridget Rose, organizer of the Elizabeth National Crime Victims Week. Welcome to the show, or Shashay, welcome back to the show, Bridget, and welcome to the show. Okay. First, let me begin by asking you, what actually is Crime Victims' Rights Week?
Okay, Crime Victims' Rights Week is a week, it's a national week where everybody knows that we honor victims of crime, all types of crime. Back before 1981, we don't have victims, but nobody knew about them because the courts really didn't recognize victims. And then as the laws were changing, victims were given a voice, in court. You're just not called to testify, when they need you as a witness. But, you can actually sit in courtrooms and be part of it. And before you know it, nationally, we wanted to give victims a voice.
Now, when you say courts, was it recognized, and did you actually mean compiling documentation on victims who have lost their lives?
Something like that, where when you have trials, okay, you get your witnesses, they come in, they testify, and then they have to clear out. With these Crime Victims' Rights Week, once they testify, they can actually sit in the courtroom, when they're no longer needed, and they can listen to the process and be part of it.
Okay. Now, was Crime Victims' Rights Week predicated or established on a certain event or incident that took place?
I really didn't do much of the homework, but I think it happened in the Reagan era. Yes. Because I believe it started in 1981.
Right. I guess when I believe, I'm not sure, don't quote me on this, but I believe is when Brady, I think part of his cabinet, him and Reagan had got shot at. And I believe that's where it actually emerged from. Okay. Now, Maria, you're a victim's witness advocate. Am I saying it correct? Or?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, what purpose does a victim's witness advocate serve?
We are the voice of the victim to the prosecutors, the assistant prosecutors who are handling cases. In homicides, cases don't go through the judicial system that fast. If the defendant does not take a plea, and if we go to trial, the case can take up to 2 years before going to trial. Families of the deceased victims get anxious, and they want to talk to the prosecutors, to find out how the case is going. A lot of times the prosecutors are busy and they have to be in court, so we talk to the victim's family, and we listen to their questions, and then we sort of become their voice to the assistant prosecutors and get back to them with all the information that they're asking for.
Now, that could be somewhat of I know you encounter situations with families who lost, and since you're the intermediate, where you have encountered some hostile situations.
Yes. And I have to tell you that I'm a mother of a crime victim myself, so using my own personal experience as a mom who lost a daughter, and going through the judicial system, and waiting those 2 years for the trial, I have learned a lot. So I use my experience to help other families who are now in my shoes.
Okay, and you have my condolences. What was it? A horrific crime?
It was the vehicular homicide, and it happened here in Elizabeth on 2nd Street and Park Place, almost 20 years ago.
Actually, that's around the corner from where I reside at. And it's right on the corner in front of the social club. Am I correct?
Yes, 2 people died there, my uncle and my daughter.
Yes. And I see that they named the street.
There's a pole with her name and his name there.
Wow, I'm honored. I feel like I'm here with a celebrity now. I see that every day on my way to work. Yes.
He's not a celebrity.
Now, are you employed in this, or is it a volunteer position?
No, I'm employed. I've been with the county for almost 16 years. Before that, I used to be in banking. Then I through a buyout, I was one of the people who was laid off, 2,000 of us from banking. And a year later, I go to school in the meantime, to get updated with all the computer programs that they have. And then I get a call from the victim witness coordinator helped me when I was going through a case, for my loss. And she said, "We already have an opening. Are you interested?" And it was a clerical position. So I said, "What do I have to lose?" Sure.
You must be prognostic, because that was my next question. I was going to ask you, what compelled you to assume the responsibility of a victim's witness advocate?
Well, before coming to the county, even though I worked at the bank, I would go out and speak at certain programs. The first one was, I don't know if you know what an IDRC class is. It's an IDRC class. There's one in every county, and we have 21 counties. Is where impaired drivers who are convicted, either they're found guilty or they plead guilty to driving under the influence, and then they have to go through a 12-hour mandatory class. And usually the directors of that class are looking for speakers to come and talk to them, to make them see that they were very lucky not to have killed anyone. And so they don't repeat, so they reoffend. And I started to speak at this program, and before I know it, schools are calling me and asking for speakers, because I joined Mothers Against Drunk Driving as a volunteer. So they would be looking for speakers, and they would ask Maria, "Would you like to go to this school or that school?" And I would go.
Okay. Oh, wow. It's interesting. Now, what brought two of you together?
Well, Bridget has a loss, and it was through Anthony. I know about Sean, but through Anthony, she wanted to make a difference. She wanted to go out and tell these young people to stop, killing each other. Life is precious, it's short, and we need to do something about it. And she would call me so often, also to know about the progress of the case.
That's Bridget.
Bridget.
That's Bridget.
She's wonderful. And one day when she called, I knew the Crime Victims' Rights Week was coming up. And it's something that she could have done, be busy, working on this. So I told her about it. And she says, "Great." One of the ideas was get a hold of the churches, being that it starts April 21st and ends on the 27th. And April 21st happens to be a Sunday. I figured most people go to church, on Sunday. We can maybe have all, the clergy, pray for all victims of crime, whether deceased, or survivors. And victims of crime could be domestic violence, could be victims of burglary, robbery, harassment, homicide. And I thought, in a way, I thought I got rid of her for a little while.
Oh.
And then she calls back and she says, "Maria, help me write a letter." And so, we helped each other.
Okay.
And this is her project.
Oh, okay. Now, how many victim witness advocates do you have in the Union County area?
Right now, we have 4. I have the adult cases with another girl named Kimberly. We have Donna, who does the juveniles, and we have Maria, who does the child advocacy center for the children who are, victims of sexual
Now, this is obviously an important position that you hold. What type of conduit do you use to disseminate information about your office and what it entails?
Well, my office, I would say that it's unique, and we have one of these offices in every prosecutor's office, which there's 21 offices, because there's one per county. We are mandated by the state to be in the prosecutor's office, and our purpose is to help victims of crime.
Now, in the wake of the Newtown, Connecticut tragedy, the Obama administration has been pushing for stricter gun control reform. What are your perspectives on that particular issue?
As far as the gun control?
Yes.
Honestly, I listen to it, but I try not to touch the political thing with that right there. I think that guns is just dangerous, getting in the wrong hands, and it's like, what do we do? I think in our community, we have to tell when we know things is not right like that. When we know these kids are obtaining guns and different weapons like that, because they don't have a name on it.
Yeah, I'll just play devil's advocate for a minute, because, you just said in our community we have to tell. However, we also have to tell, if we're going to tell, we have to tell on individuals who are bringing these guns across the borders and across state lines, because our kids don't possess the technology or finances to go to, like, for example, Pennsylvania or North Carolina and purchase these legal firearms. I mean, if we're going to tell, we also have to, I would think, also have to tell them the individuals. And that 9 out of 10 is not little, black and brown kids. So, if we're going to talk about that, we need really, I would think we have to talk about that also.
Well, for me, I don't go that far. I just stay in my lane. I don't know the particulars about the guns and where they come from and things. I just know about when it comes to my community,
Right.
things like that, because I don't know how they transport them.
Right.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know, but I know what's going on in my community.
Right.
That's
Right.
all I can, base it on.
Okay. Now, Obama is calling for stricter gun reform, and since the Newtown, 3 months since the Newtown, Connecticut incident, the whole issue about, you have 57% of individuals who were in favor of it. Now, 3 months later, it's winding down. Now, I read somewhere where now it's at 47%. Do you think people are losing interest, or do you think that it's basically you're fighting against the NRA, which was one of the most powerful lobbying groups in Washington, D.C. Do you think there's any hope?
Well, I guess it's like anything. As time goes by, people do start to lose interest. But then they start picking up on other issues. Like when it came to the Connecticut, it's obviously that young man had mental issues that should have been addressed, by the parents. I don't remember exactly how old he was, but when you have a child that does have some sort of mental problem, then you don't have guns, in the house, available where they can use them, When Bridget says she wants to start small, I think that starting like in her community and expanding, giving out the word that you don't need guns, you have a problem.
I don't mean to cut you off. You said because Bridget's want to start small. Would this be actually the first victims crime week that you were in recognition?
Yes.
City of Elizabeth had?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you're somewhat of a trendsetter.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I have to ask you a question because this, it behooves me. They're asking for stricter gun control, and you have a certain political party who's like opposed to it. But if you look down there in the state, which is controlled by that particular party, you had a prosecutor and his assistant and his wife was just killed, and they were killed by an assault rifle. So I would think that would, basically answer the question: whether or not do we need stricter gun control reform?
Well, I don't really know exactly what the law reads on the law that we have now on gun control. But I think that by making stricter is not, that's just my personal opinion, is really not going to make a difference, because if somebody has the ability to get a hold of a weapon such as that, they're going to use it for whatever purpose they're intended. With that couple, we don't know what the background is. It could be criminal, it could be somebody that they tried, it could be, I don't know, somebody who's probably witness or something, I don't know.
One of the things that you mentioned that was real poignant, you said previously about, getting the legal fraud. Not so much illegal, because the individuals who are out there committing these crimes, like for example, Colorado, this guy had a permit to acquire these firearms. Newtown, Connecticut, his mother was an avid gun collector. I mean, so like you said, trying to stricter gun reform is not. Now, I think where we need to do stricter for us with background check. Now, I'm in total agreement with that. So what is your perspective?
Background checks and the waiting period, don't just wait 1 week. I would say maybe wait 2 weeks or whatever, but do an in-depth, background check on them. And if you need to do it on, if they live in an extended family, everyone in that household.
Okay. Now let's talk about the festivities you have in order for April 21st.
Yes.
Could you elaborate on the festivities that you have?
Well, April 21st is National Victim Crimes Week. My reason for this is 4 years ago, my nephew was murdered. And I wanted to do something. And even before he was murdered, I was still doing things within my community. it just felt like it was a stronger need to do something elsewhere, because in our community, so many people are affected by this. You know, so many people walk around with the T-shirts on, memories of somebody, you know, and it's like, you know, we got something in common, you know, and it's hard to deal with losing a loss. You know, society don't only give you 3 days or 4 days for bereavement days, but you have to continue to move on with your life, and so people have to go on. So they really are just doing what society say we have to do, and we need to come together and honor those that we lose. You know, some people may say, oh, my child was in college and they didn't deserve it, or my kid was in the game. Oh, no kid deserved to die.
That's true. That's true.
You know, nobody deserved to die. You know, in the age form that the children are getting shot at, you know, are the ages that they're trying to build their character. So within the midst of them trying to build their character, there's room for error. You know, there's room for them to make mistakes and say that they've done something wrong, but you shouldn't have to die for it.
Right. You know, one thing I commend you about when your nephew's unfortunate situation occurred, you didn't just rest on your laurels and just sit back and say, woe is me. You know, you took action. That's one of the things, you know, I admire about you, but some parents, they don't have the strength. You know, and so I guess that's where your office comes into play.
We kind of like, there's a lot of parents who don't even want to live after the death of their child. They're just existing because, you know, we have a court, you know, case pending, and they want to see it through. And a lot of them tell me that they're dead, you know. There's a family from this area here whose son was murdered on 3rd Street by the gas station. And I've been speaking, you know, with the dad and the mom and the sister. They come to court like, you know, once a month, you know, for the preliminary hearings, you know, and then they sit there for like about an hour, and then they hear that, oh, it's been postponed, you know, again. And it's frustrating because they've taken a day off from work, you know, to come. And, you know, and speaking with the dad, he says, well, I lost my only son, and I'm dead. And so I say to him, no, you're not dead. You're alive, and you still have a daughter. You still have a child. And, you know, and you have to live because your life is still here. You still have something to do. So do something positive in memory of your son. You know, make a positive change in the world. And that's where Bridget came in. She wanted to make a positive change, you know, in the world, starting, you know, in her community. A lot of the kids, you know, are playing with guns instead of playing with toys or, you know, with computers. So why not tell them, if you have a problem with another kid, talk it out. You know, just don't pull out a gun, you know, and end a life.
Right.
So it's, when it comes to families like that, I like to give them ideas because sometimes all it takes is a stranger to listen to the problem and then just come up with a good suggestion, you know, and then they can take it from there.
Your job has got to be difficult. I'm sitting here listening to you explain how the, you know, the parents show up and then it's postponed. Basically, you serve as a buffer between the families and the prosecutor's office. The prosecutor's office don't necessarily have to deal with what you deal with. You know, you got to sit there and do they send you to a class for like sensitivity training for that or something?
Well, we have lots of classes at the police academy. You know, there's always classes going in there, and you know, we sign up to go to them. Some of the classes you already have them internal,
Right.
you know, and the prosecutors do a good job, you know, with talking to the families, but they get bombarded because there's just so many. Like one family may have 10 people from the family calling, you know, and it's hard for them to keep telling them the same thing. So we'll say, you know, and they have to go to court, you know, for other cases because you just don't have one. They could be taking 3 cases at the same time. So they'll use somebody like me, you know, say, Maria, can you call so-and-so? You know, listen to what, you know, what they're asking and see if you can take care of it. If it's something I can, you know, I do. Just go on the computer, see, you know, where the case is, you know, what the next step is, and let them know. And if it's something that I don't understand, then I can contact the detective in the case, you know, get information from that detective, and if not, then from the prosecutor. And they do talk to victims.
Now, Bridget, let's discuss a little further what you have outlined for that particular day. Can you elaborate on that, or you know?
Well, so far, I reached out to a gentleman in Essex County, street doctor, and I gave him an invitation to come in because what it is I want everyone to come in peace. I want us to have some positive words mentioned. I don't want to downplay the police department, the prosecutor, and nothing like that. It's just to enhance us to embrace the people that we lost. You know, come in and memorize them and say good things about them, and so I'm having people come in that that can bring something where people can feel comfortable.
Especially you have a lineup of speakers.
Yes.
Okay.
So far, I have the street doctor, Patricia President Augusta, councilwoman, the young man from over in Essex County with the Stop Shooting. His name is Yusuf.
I'm not sure.
He has an organization he's going to bring, but I've also called the National Crime Victim Rights. They have given me information, pamphlets.
So you'll basically have a table set up for information?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in your quest, you're going to have victims there.
Yes.
Okay, now how what method have you used to reach out to them? Because you're only one person.
Well, what I've done, I've had a poster, put a poster together, and I've been pasting it out in Elizabeth, around the different areas, the barbershops, on poles and different things like that. And I've been also word of mouth, letting people know that we're having it, so if they have a family member or any sort, that they can let them know that anybody's welcome to be there. So I've, shared it around, and so far it's been good because I've gotten phone calls. People telling me they want to come. And also have people coming that have not lost anybody, but would just want to come for support. So which that has been a great thing. Also, and I mean it's just us to come together, and it's just hopefully God's will that we can continue every year to do something and it can turn out better than what it is now. In addition to what Maria was saying when she first introduced it to me and told me about it, she also talked about a quilt. And the quilt is formed where we come together and say, like for my nephew that I lost by Sean, I might want to put a picture and we add on to each other and we put this quilt together. So once I get together, once we have this initial day, I can introduce it to everybody, and if they want to come along, they maybe have even a sweater that remind them of the person that they lost. They might want to stitch it on there, whatever it is, and we're going to, come together and put this quilt together. That maybe in our community we can find a designated area that we can put this quilt at, where it can, talk about the loved ones that we lost. It might even be in the city hall, maybe even ask here for the Presbyterian, anywhere where it can be, a memorial for the people that we lost in our community.
Okay. Now, have any elected officials, with the exception of Councilman Patricia Augusta, have any others expressed interest in participating in this program?
Carlos Torres has.
Oh, the councilman, the first
Yeah, I spoke
one.
to him, yes. And initially when I first started out, I had spoke to him, and he told me he'd be willing to do whatever he can, other people, I'm just getting phone calls. I haven't heard from everybody, but there has been a few that's reached out to me.
It seems like you're somewhat inundated with this, but like I said, you keep doing what you're doing because I'm confident that it'll pay off. And there's one thing about you, you are persistent. And you know that, and I know that also. So if a grieving parent, if a parent, should I say, is still grieving, is watching this segment and they want to participate, how can they get involved?
Call Bridget Rose, 973-698-68, and I'll take their phone call.
Okay. So, wait, I'm gonna let you have the final say so. Okay. Parent is grieving, okay, and this is their first time that they're hearing about your particular position and what you offer. Do you have a number that they can get involved with, or can they call?
Sure. The county has the case. The victim witness unit is there. We actually get involved like pretty quick. The number is 908.
Do you want what it is?
Okay, 908-527-4596. That's the main number for the victim witness unit, and then we help them.
Okay. I want to thank you, ladies, and hopefully you'll come back and let me know. I plan on being there. I'm just letting you know. We'll be there in attendance, and you guys come back perhaps next year, and we'll get ready to prepare the second annual. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That wraps up our show. However, I'd like to thank my guests, Ms. Maria Estevez and Ms. Bridget Rose, and you, our viewing audience. Until next time, instead of criticizing, get involved. Instead of being subjective, be objective. Power concedes nothing without demand, and in the words of our late freedom fighter sister, Vicky White, what are you prepared to do? If you have any comments about this show, email us at grassrootsspeak, the number 18 at yahoo.com. Power to the people, and be at peace.